And this is why I really don't have any faith in this head coach, because he apparently doesn't see it.
I think it's an overreaction, man. I'm telling you, I've been frustrated too. I think it's an overreaction. And first of all, they need to give Saquon the ball more is the most overblown narrative I've heard. The guy sits in the top 7 of rushing attempts, and he's done it in one less game because of the bye. So they are giving him the football. You also, look, I get the Bucs game was ugly, okay? The Bucs game was an ugly performance. We can make excuses for injuries, the back-to-back road games, whatever it may be. They put up over 400 yards against the Packers in week 1. They put up almost 400 yards against the Falcons in week 2. They put up close to 500 yards against the Saints in week 3, and they put up almost 400 yards against the Cleveland Browns last week. So I get it. They need to still find their identity. But the overreactions to an offense that's top 10 in the league in terms of yards per game is an overreaction. You got to look at the numbers. Turnovers have killed this team. Red zone efficiency has killed this team. You are able to correct those. If you can identify those as the issues and correct them, this team is now going to start to move into the top 10 of points per game. They will find their identity. It's 5 damn games. You've added an offensive coordinator. You added a weapon like Saquon Barkley. You have to figure this thing out. And to be 3-2 after 5 games with the way the season started, it's not that bad. Fans need to relax. We do. We need to relax.
Ray, are things that bad?
You said something pretty telling earlier on when Mike was going through the numbers with the Giants defense and saying, well, this shows that they're maybe not as strong here or there. And you said, well, look at the final score. Look at the final score and how that justifies where the Giants defense is right now.
Yes.
Look at the final score of these Eagles games. Like, I'm sorry, you shouldn't play the Cleveland Browns to 4 points. You give me the blocked kick, but it's just another example of poor execution. This team consistently finds itself in dogfights against bad teams and goes down. And like that Tampa game, I understand you got every excuse under the book. You didn't show up for it. And you got your rear end handed to you in Tampa Bay again. You went down there to the place where you got eliminated a season ago and you had no juice for that game. That's why this fan base has no juice for this team right now, because they haven't given you any reason to really hold on to something and believe in anything. And that's patience, sure. But like, where's the moment where I'm like, hey, this team's got something? I haven't had that moment. I've had the, they survived that one. That's great. Or, wow, that was a horrific loss, and I want to burn my eyes after watching it.
You're absolutely right. There's nothing to hold on to right now. So let's look, because my man goes, how did they start the game? Well, let's look at how they started the game against the Browns. 1st and 10. All right, you got what you wanted. Barkley for 5. Now, it's 2nd and 5. Maybe it's too early to do this, but when it's 2nd and 5 and you want to spring a long pass, it's not a bad down to do it in, because at least you have maybe some play action because you gave the ball to Barkley the first play. So they go deep, incomplete. 3rd and 5. Now they've got to pass it, so they try to go to a sure thing with the tight end, incomplete. They don't convert it. All right, next drive. That was the fumble on the shotgun snap. So now, no gain. So now they go, Hurts runs it. Again, we got a 3rd and 1. And what do? They give it to Barkley. No gain. They stop him. All right, now you got to kick it. Oh, no. You tush pushed. And you got the first down. So, again, shotgun, Barkley runs it. 2nd and 6. Hurts incomplete. So what I'm seeing is a trend here. They're not giving the ball to Barkley in consecutive plays, if that's what people are upset about. But they are giving him the ball, and they're setting up 2nd and 5 type of downs where that's usually a good down to pass on.
What's the Eagles' record right now?
3-2.
Okay. The way people talk about this team, you would think it was an 0-5 football team. That's all I'm saying is, are there things they need to improve? Absolutely. First quarter points, it's ridiculous that they haven't scored. The slow starts need to be corrected. The turnovers need to be corrected. It's just the fan base right now. And I understand it because it's based off of the way the season collapsed last year. They came into this season with a bad taste in their mouth, and now every little thing that happens is an overreaction. Everyone thought they were going to go to Brazil and get dominated by the Packers. They won that game. They beat the damn Green Bay Packers in Brazil week 1. That gets brushed under the rug. They were a catch away from beating the Atlanta Falcons, an easy catch away. And then you mix in the fact that A.J. Brown hasn't played. Lane Johnson hasn't played. The fact that this team is 3-2 right now, I know it hasn't looked pretty, but my God, with the overreactions. This is the reason why you play 17 games. It's not a 5-game season.
I'm just trying to address their plays and how they're scheming and how they're coming into a game against a particular team. The notion is they're not giving the ball to Barkley enough. Well, on the third drive, they kicked the field goal to lead 3-0. They gave the ball to Barkley 6 times. He carried 6 times in that drive. Now,
but what do you want, though? 30 carries a game?
No, that's what I'm saying. They are giving him the ball. There are sometimes you're going to have to throw the ball, in which case those downs you got to convert. Now, on that particular drive where they only got the field goal, they got to the Browns, 31, and they stalled. So they gave Barkley the ball for 3 yards on first down. Gainwell somehow came in the game. He got 3. 3rd and 4. You got to throw the ball there. It's incomplete.
What drive you on? The
I'm
one that
talking
kicked the
about
field
the
goal?
one where they kicked the field goal. They ran it twice to set him up with a 3rd and 4. You would like it to be a 3rd and 1 where you can push, but it was a 3rd and 4. I got to count on my quarterback to complete a short pass to keep that drive moving. They didn't.
Yeah. Listen, I keep saying it. I don't know how many times I
And he doesn't throw the ball well in the middle of the field. That's a fact.
Well, now you're talking about Jalen.
I'm talking about Jalen. So all these things are factors that you got to figure out how you got to call plays and what plays will be more successful. You got a quarterback that you can't do a lot of things with, apparently. So if you're Kellen Moore, work with it.
And if this is the same problem 5 weeks from now, I will agree with you. But the fact that we are over-analyzing what Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts are doing together through the first 5 games, you got to give it time. We said this in the summertime.
Why?
Because
why do you have to give it time? You had mini camp. You had a whole training camp. You knew exactly what he was. You had film study. This is what I can do with this guy. This is what I can't do.
Here's what I don't get
Why
about
do
you.
you need a half a season?
I know you're going to say it's a different sport. But my God, you are the calmest person in the world. The Phillies are falling apart in front of our eyes, and they got to be patient.
Baseball is determined by mano a mano. Football is determined by sophisticated game planning.
And the reason you need to be patient is Kellen Moore, as good as an offensive coordinator as he may have been, and I still think he will find his rhythm here, he's never had a quarterback like Jalen. Ever.
Well, he took the job knowing he had a quarterback like this.
And it's 5 damn games.
Let's ignore let's ignore April. That's when did they start in April, or is it my imagination that they just started day 1 in September?
I believe they started back.
They started in April, didn't they?
Was it April, Ray?
Yeah.
But
March.
Mike, listen to me. Listen to me. You are acting as if this is a basement dweller of an offense. They are averaging 370 yards a game. That would put them in the top 10. Where they have struggled has been, yes, first quarter points, turnovers, and in the red zone. These are things that can be corrected. If Jalen Hurts stops turning the football over and this team can start converting in the red zone, we're not going to be saying this about this offense.
No, that's such a lamb. Of course we're not. If. What I'm saying is they haven't given this fan base anything to hold on to. In other words, their game planning and their coaching has not been able to get a team whirring like an engine so the fan base can go, all right, we got something. And you're saying, well, I can't. It's okay. They eventually will get it because it's early.
Do you agree that A.J. Brown and Lane Johnson are important to this offense?
Of course.
Okay, but they weren't in for 3 games.
Other teams lose players all the time.
And this team is 3-2, even in spite of those injuries. So why are we
They beat the
overreacting?
Cleveland Browns last week.
Did they win the damn game? And I've gone through this with you before. There was a ton of positives in that game.
They were a 9.5-point favorite. They barely won the game.
They dominated everywhere but the scoreboard. They had a blocked field goal for a touchdown. It's a fluke play. Listen, I don't want to stand up here and act like everything's been great. It hasn't. But when you look at the big picture, it's not as bad as fans. And now Mike Missanelli and Ray Dunn are making it out to be.
It is because they haven't shown any sign of pizzazz. And we could sit here and say, well, they're mediocre, but they'll eventually get it. They're going to get it because it's early, because they got coordinators that are different, and they can't adapt. And they're 5 games long. They started in April. They can't adapt.
I will say this. If this offense doesn't improve, it's on Jalen Hurts and nobody else.
Well,
that will be the reason.
Love yourself some Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni.
I just think a lot of the issues with the offense have been the
those
quarterback.
Guys have nothing to do with it.